Rokt helps retailers make more of every transaction. When someone is already buying online or in-app, Rokt makes it possible to show relevant ads and offer content in that moment, like subscriptions, upgrades, or loyalty perks. So instead of interruptive advertising, customers see something more useful and more timely. For retailers, that creates more value from the transaction. For customers, it creates a better experience. That's Rokt, making every transaction more valuable. On today's flight of the Retail Pilot, my guest is Shea Jensen, President North America at Urban Outfitters and a member of the Urban Executive Team since February 2024, where she's focused on stabilizing the business and driving long-term growth. Previously, Shea served as President of Good American and President and Chief Customer Officer at Press Juicery. Jensen spent more than 30 years at Nordstrom, most recently as EVP and General Merchandise Manager of men's and women's apparel, overseeing a $5 billion annual revenue business. She also served as Senior Vice President of Customer Service, leading omni-channel strategy, digital product, and new concepts, including Nordstrom Local. Across roles, she brings expertise in merchandising, customer engagement, and retail strategy. She has been recognized by Women in Retail and the National Retail Federation. Shea Jensen, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Ken. So nice to be here.
And my special co-pilot today and good friend, Melissa Gonzalez. And for those of you who don't know Melissa, you probably don't know what you're missing, but just a soundbite on Melissa, she is the founder of Lionesque with an exit to the MG2 group late last year and one of the sharpest minds in experiential retail. Melissa recently penned her latest book, The Purpose Pivot: How Dynamic Leaders Put Vulnerability and Intuition into Action. Melissa, welcome back.
Thanks for having me. I love our reunions and also, when I get to join a conversation with Shea. So it is a good day.
This is a special treat to have both of you.
Yeah.
Well, Shea, listen, from what I read, you're killing it over there. Since February 2024, Urban Outfitters has been making a bit of a turnaround. I mean, you went from down double digits in comps to up double digits in comps and improved margin as well. So we've got to unpack how you're doing all this because it's super exciting.
Yeah, we've been having a lot of fun. This is a really fun brand. Obviously, a brand that's focused on young people, a brand that's synonymous with youth culture. And, one thing we say a lot around here is, isn't it? It's a lot funner to go backwards in time when you're serving customers than forwards in time. So, nothing's better than going back to college.
Well, why don't you take us back in time just a little bit and tell us about what initially attracted you to retail? I mean, why we all do retail is a curious thing, but what attracted you to retail and what kept you there for the long haul?
Yeah, I was, one of those retail warriors who entered this business at the ripe age of 15. And I started at Nordstrom. As you mentioned in my bio, I started in the stockroom. And, I think I had been, somebody that had spent my youth sort of growing up shopping at Nordstrom. And when I had an opportunity to participate working a summer sale, I jumped at the chance. I had just always sort of felt at home in that building. And um, after, several summers sweeping stock rooms and walking packages around the cash wrap, I knew I wanted to be in this business. I think I fell in love with what I call the art of the customer experience, which is really just making people feel good with what they purchase. And that's really something that drives me to this day. So,
It's interesting. I started my career really on the store side as well. I went through the Macy's training program and kind of grew up in the stores. And prior to that, I think I was working at Bloomingdale's as seasonal help on the floor, but I learned a lot about the customer kind of from the inside out and then got
yep,
into the buying space and the entire
yep.
ecosystem. What motivated you to move away from stores and into the larger organization, corporate as we tend to call it?
Yeah, I did spend the majority of my career as a store operator. I had some short stints in merchandising, sort of working my way up in regional buying, but I do remember it was around, in the early teens, and I was managing one of the Nordstrom fleet largest stores. And this was about the time that e-commerce was really accelerating. And an executive had flown out to my store for a store visit, and this particular executive was asking me a lot of rapid fire questions. And one of the questions that they asked me was who our competition was. And I responded very simply with Macy's, Frederick and Nelson, the quintessential mall retailers. And they took one look at me and said, "No way. Have you heard of Amazon?" And it was just something that really blew my mind. Now, I wasn't living in Seattle at the time, but um, those folks out in Seattle were paying a lot of attention to Amazon. Not only were they a growing entity out in Seattle, but Amazon had set sights on becoming the biggest retailer in the world. And, obviously we know the rest of that story, but um, it was in that moment that I recognized that retail was changing. And I think I've always felt that I'm a curious individual by nature. And I recognized that there was sort of two paths that I could go on. One would be continuing down the brick and mortar path and, staying in the stores, or I could widen my horizons and start to learn a whole different side of retail. And so I took a step back into, sort of the corporate path and moved back to Seattle and took on a number of different jobs, some in e-commerce, some in strategy, and, some in merchandising. And, that's sort of all she wrote. But yeah, it was really that moment that I recognized, gosh, this thing is a lot more than just stores.
It's funny, as an aside, I'll never forget, we had a town hall meeting one day at Gap, and Steve Jobs, who was on the board, came to address us at the town hall. It's kinda cool. And Steve Jobs looked at everybody and he said, "You know who you should be worried about?" And the limited, and we're mumbling other names. He said, "Amazon." And we're all like, they're booksellers. They sell books. We're not
Yeah,
worried about you." We were almost laughing at him. Who knew? I
Here we
guess,
are.
hey,
Now everybody is on Amazon and shopping luxury brands, everything. So it's a good thing you two listened.
I mean, if they're not looking for your product on Amazon, they're buying the product there. So it's something that we all contend with today. They are a monster, obviously. So Shay, was there one lesson that you learned that you've taken with you and employ as a brand president? One thing that kind of just a mindset in terms of whether how you view the customer, how you think about the experience. Is there one thing that you just hold near and dear?
there's one lesson. Absolutely, I think it's something that I've learned the easy way and the hard way, and a principle that we keep at the center of everything we do at Urban Outfitters, and that is that the customer guides our decisions. Today, it's a lot easier because there's a lot of access to data compared to when I was sort of growing up, when really the answers were out on the sales floor. You had to go out and talk to customers and listen and learn and observe with your own eyes. Today, you can pick up your spreadsheet or even ask AI and ask Claude a question and get an answer pretty quickly. But in 35 something years in retail, when making decisions in the best interest of our customer, I, you know, it's usually been the right decision. But believe it or not, lots of times we make decisions that are more aligned with trying to compete with our competitors, trying to drive bottom line, sometimes chasing short term top line. And when those things come at the sacrifice of winning with the customer, they can be bad decisions. And I think for us, when you know your customer, you're anticipating your needs, you're listening to them. It's tough, it's tough to go wrong. Because we're in the business of taking care of people and giving them what they want. So, I think that's been something that we've been spending a lot of time on here at Urban. And we serve young people. By nature, that means they grow up. And we have a responsibility to constantly be curious, to keep our noses to the ground, to be out in the market, understanding what matters to young people as they enter our brand, to understand what matters culturally. That's changing rapidly more than ever. It's fun stuff, but it is, definitely a responsibility. But I do think that's the one principle and lesson that I've learned over my career in retail.
With so much great experience, and you've been in a number of different businesses, what prompted you to jump at Urban Outfitters?
To come to Urban.
Yeah, like, why there? Like, what was it? And what was the mandate and the state of the business when you jumped in? I mean, give us the playback on that.
Yeah. Well, having grown up at Nordstrom, literally grown up at Nordstrom, and it being a place that I was, so aligned from a values perspective, and um, had literally felt like Nordstrom is a part of me. I had obviously done a lot of business with brands towards the latter part of my career, and I think, I often wondered, wow, what would it be like to work with one of the world's best brands? And so, I couldn't directly go work with a brand at that point because that would have been a little bit maybe mischievous. So I took a side hustle, working in the CPG business. And when the opportunity at Urban presented itself, immediately I was energized by the young customer space, the energy that that space brought, the cultural relevance opportunity, the opportunity for brand recovery. I think I've learned that I'm someone that just likes to run into the face of a challenge, and a challenge we had. But I think more importantly, this customer space did not necessarily have a clear winner at the time. Retail, we're always competing. Competition is a great thing. But we had an opportunity to really plant our flag as a brand. And I think that's what we're working hard to do, to define ourselves and to define our position in the marketplace. But it was the opportunity to work for an iconic brand, and to bring it back to its footing. And the URBN companies are an incredible group. I had worked personally with them and knew them to be passionately focused on customers, incredible merchandising, and you know, just wonderfully creative. And all of that has lived up to my best imagination. So I'm truly happy here, and like I thought, the customer space is just incredibly energizing.
When I was talking with your team and also Melissa, we were talking a bit about the product strategy and what
Yeah.
you're doing around the product strategy to really win with the customer, which includes, but's not limited to, how you're building out some of your own brands like BDG Denim, out from under, lounge, athleisure. Share with us a little bit about what you've done around the point of view. Certainly, that's been, I think, very important to getting the business on the track that it's on, which is performing extremely well.
Yeah. So, one of the first things that we did is, research from customers, both those that we were currently working with and serving, and of course, a lot of customers that weren't shopping at Urban Outfitters. It's something we still do continuously today. And it was very clear what customers appreciated about Urban and what they felt what they felt we were missing. And one of the things that was loud and clear is that they loved our brand BDG. They said, "We love that brand BDG denim." And we love that it is like premium denim at a non-premium price. And so we felt we had a real opportunity to build some category authority in denim. Denim had been a category that was more trend supported here, meaning it came and went, and we felt that we had an opportunity to plant our flag and be, a lot more consistent, to build out some fit franchises, and to really be a destination for denim. And that's something we've been working really, really hard at, and the customer's been responding. We've also been building out adjacent categories like t-shirts. So when you're a denim brand, why wouldn't you be selling tees with them? And more recently, building out woven bottoms. If you can fit women in great jeans, then you have a right to sell her some pants too. And the bottoms business, we're in a bottom cycle. So bottoms business is just roaring. And so the BDG brand is thriving. Secondly, Out From Under is our lounge brand. And our customers said, wow, your fabrics in that Out From Under brand are incredibly soft and comfortable. We want more of that. And we recognized that we had not been competing or serving customers in anything remotely aligned to athleisure. Now, we don't want to be technical. We're not here to compete with the Lulus. In fact, we have FP Movement on campus, and we know our customers shop that brand. Amazing brand. So we don't want to be technical, but listen, college, high school, and young adults, they live in lounge, and they are running errands all day long. And so we had an opportunity to really build out that brand using our fabric franchises, building out programs, and taking care of customers for their super casual core is what I would say. And so we've been really, really working hard at that. And I think a third thing that we've worked hard on is our price elasticity. Our customers said, "Hey, you're you're expensive." And it's not to say that we wanted everything to be lower priced in the brand, because they also value the inspiration, the creativity I mentioned earlier. I think they look to Urban to be setting trends, to inspire them about what's new and what's next. And sometimes that means they're willing to stretch from a price perspective, but we need to also offer some accessibility. And so I think we needed to work on our price elasticity. So we built a price architecture in, and we're now committed to making sure we're covering opening mid and giving that customer some sizzle as well, on a more consistent basis.
Where do you see the Urban brand sitting competitively? I mean, you mentioned denim, and clearly it's where all the competition seems to start, whether it's with Gap or Old Navy or American Eagle or Abercrombie and Fitch. Where in that orbit would you say your denim, BDG denim sits?
Do you mean aesthetically or
Let's start with price, because you mentioned there was some discontent among your customers around pricing. Where do you sit price wise among the group?
Interestingly, from a denim perspective, our customers told us that they really value our price value equation, feeling like there is an incredible amount of value. Our average price is about $69 to $79, and they feel like this is a premium value denim. Now, our goal is to offer a good, better, best strategy. And so when we look at our competition, I think we want to reach across all of it. Like I said earlier, we know our customers value inspiration, first to market trend, and they're willing to stretch into a best price point from us. They want some sizzle. They value the touch of hand that Urban can offer. At the same time, we need to have price accessibility for a young customer shop in the mall, coming in, first time purchaser at Urban, and she's got $20 in her pocket. She's either going to get a scrunchie or a Starbucks, and we'd like her to walk in our store and purchase a scrunchie from us. Knit tops, that's an area of the business, sometimes a first time purchase with us. We've got to have sharp price points and compete with the likes of our competitors down the mall.
Why don't we take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, then we're going to come back and go through the store experience with Melissa. Let's take a quick break for a word from our sponsor, Leap, the retail as a service platform that lets modern brands launch and scale brick and mortar with far less cost, risk, and complexity. I know many of my listeners are thinking about or already in the process of opening retail locations, but the lease, build out, and hiring feel impossible. Leap handles everything from site selection and real estate to design, build out, staffing, and daily operations across 110 plus locations for over 55 brands in 13 U.S. markets. Brands like Bombas, Faraday, Frankie's Bikinis, and Ring Concierge have used Leap to run their retail, and with operational heavy lifting off their plate, they open faster, perform stronger, and scale further. If you're ready to go physical, visit leapinc.com to schedule a call and explore what a Leap partnership could look like for your brand. Melissa, something near and dear to you. Why don't we start to look inside that store experience? We talk a lot about online, digitally, and Melissa and I complain at the conferences that they're too digitally oriented for us. We never talk enough about the stores. And at the end of the day, there's still 75 to 80% of the business coming through the stores.
Mhm.
Hello, conference people. So, Melissa, you take it away, and why don't you find where the sizzle is in the urban?
Yeah, maybe all the Gen Z articles will help us or Gen
There
Alpha
you
or
go.
somebody to remind people that stores are there. But as you talk about price and just product and assortment, I was thinking of stores and Shay knows this. As I travel around the US, I often send her photos. I'm at Penn State. I see an urban store. I forgot where I was the last time. I was in London, I think. I forget,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm always spying. But just let's talk about that, like how that bridges together, right? When we think about, you know, the the community aspect, right? And the storytelling and all that comes to life in physical environments. How would you characterize urban's footprint today? There's obviously a tiered aspect to it, the way you show up on campuses versus in other high street areas. And what are your top two priorities or guiding principles as you think about stores today?
Hey,
Yeah. We
Shay,
spent a
before you
Yep.
hit that question, how just to set first, how many Urban Outfitters stores are there in North America?
We have about 177. Um, and that includes, I believe we're 6 to 7 in Canada and the rest are in the US.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we spend a lot of time talking about stores. We know from our customers on a very consistent basis that stores matter a great deal to them. Remember, these are customers that started their coming of age in a global pandemic, in
Mhm.
isolation, living in their homes. This is a generation whose first experience going away and starting something new was heading off to college. So, meeting people, gathering, coming together is a very novel concept to them. They love going to movie theaters, they love going out to the malls. Foot traffic is up in malls. We like to call it big mall energy.
Mm.
And we see that in our stores, every single day. As we think about our stores, we think about really four types of stores. We have our high profile stores, which are where we see the most traffic. Those definitely can be in the high lifestyle centers, even some of the biggest, best malls, or even in the biggest urban cities. We have community stores. Think about those as street retail, easy convenience plays oftentimes. We have our college doors as a brand. This is a big differentiator for us. These are, stores which are at the epicenter of 20 of, this country's biggest, best colleges. We like to say students could literally roll out of their dorm, fraternity, or apartment and show up at our front door. And then we have core stores, which are those core malls, which are just, plugging away day in and day out for us. Um, the population has shifted a great deal over the past, you know, 5, 7, maybe 10 years. And for us, being close to our customer and in the right position is a huge priority. So over the past 2.5 years, we've worked really hard to make sure that we were repositioning our fleet and also right sizing our fleet. So as our leases came available, we were relocating, downsizing. Some that included even some closures, making sure that we were just recalibrating and getting ourselves in the right position. We find ourselves today looking at growth again, which is a really exciting position to be in, and evaluating opportunities to grow. Um, Looking ahead in some of our biggest markets, think about New York, Chicago, Los Angeles. We need to shore up those biggest markets and make sure we're well positioned to reach and serve all of our customers. We have two new stores relocations opening in New York. That'll be, our one of our most important stores, Soho Broadway, is
Mm.
getting a remodel and a relocation up at Fifth. So we're really excited about those. We just need better coverage in South Florida, in Los Angeles, which can be a tricky market, but we'll be opening at Century City, which is a mall we haven't been in. We're really excited about that. And all of these markets are unique in their own way. But that actually suits our brand very well, because our stores are creative spaces where we have an opportunity to be a bit unique, to meet and serve our customers in each market in a unique way, and to flex our creativity. Which is something our team really loves to do.
So some of your refreshes are in motion. So I don't know what you're able to share, but when you think of some of that newness, like new concepts, refreshers, like what are you most excited about? Anything you can tease out to the audience? And then second question, as you are unveiling them, what are you going to watch to judge its success and its opportunity to roll out more broadly?
Oh, and third
Of
question.
course.
Of course. So just what roughly you said something very interesting just about downsizing or right sizing the store. Can you just
Yeah.
give a little bit more color around that? Like the stores were 20,000 feet, they're going down to 15. Just to, for those real estate people that want to push some product to you, I want to make
Oh
sure.
boy. She's going to get all the messages.
Yeah, so let me hit that one first, Ken, because
Yeah.
then I can check it off before I forget about it. We were I don't let me just say, because I don't wanna be, like, too overly specific, but we're very large, as in the teens in some of our stores. We have some stores that are even bigger than that. We think the average store should be between 7 and 9.
Mhm.
7-ish is a great size store. There are stores that need to be 10,000 in our biggest stores, but largely we were oversized. And so downsizing to be more productive was something that we needed to do, and we have been able to address that, and seen more productivity. Melissa, to your question, we measure that based off the productivity in our store. We look at density. We need to make sure that we look at category mix in the way that we're editing to get the most out of each store, and we're localizing. We have, for example, some stores where our men's business outperforms and they need more space, and we're able to read that by overall store productivity, which is fun and exciting project for our merchants. Um, some things that I think I'm particularly excited about: more flexibility in our stores. Our stores. Um, Very traditionally, our fixtures and our walls were a lot less flexible, required drills and,
Mhm.
tools to actually move any fixture to make any floor move. That really locked us in,
Yes.
to not being able to adapt to what the customer told us every day. So our new fixtures can be moved around by just our employees every day to react and respond to what the customer's telling them. Light and bright is something I'm really excited about. Our brand, we want to be more optimistic and more welcoming. Traditionally, we had been a bit downtrodden, a bit angsty, that post-industrial vibe in our store. It suited us for who we were, but we know from customers today they want to be welcomed in. We don't need to be Barbie pink, but we want to be welcoming more customers into our brand, and to do that. And also, we want them to be able to see the product they're buying. We want better lighting in our stores. And so that's
Mhm.
something that we've been working on and we're really excited about. And then just some category focuses. So we have footwear in stores, so being able to get real footwear fixtures, being able to spotlight some of our brand partners that we are now carrying in our stores. That's been exciting. And I think just overall being able to modernize and brighten up has been something that has been really exciting. And then last, I think the creative elements.
Mhm.
I mentioned that, URBN as a general brand group is extremely creative. I'm really proud to work for the Urban Outfitters brand, where I think we have some of the most creative talent in the industry, and our team is able to localize creativity in each market. In our Houston store, the first sort of store prototype that we did, we have an art fixture installation that runs down the center of the store. Our team created that and built that themselves. We do signage that's unique to stores in each store, and we do all of that in house. Our visual team is incredibly creative in each market, and I think that's something that is a real differentiator, and something that really energizes our team.
And the other thing is you talk about is your connectivity to culture. And at the beginning of this, you talked about the importance of being constantly curious. And I know you and your team are always studying the consumer, generational insights, Gen Z, Alpha's coming of age next, and they're
Yep.
changing so many rules of engagement. So, how are you staying on top of that when you think of the store? And then, what are the key pillars as far as keeping you connected to culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny that you bring this up. We talk about this all the time. We have so many different ways that we stay in touch. So we have an insights group. We're out in market ourselves. We dedicate Fridays to being out of office in market. We have our back to school, back to campus season coming up. We spend a lot of time out on campuses and a lot of time out in market because it's a time where we can actually see what's going to be set for trend
Hmm.
in the new school year. And then we spend a lot of time just in our stores, watching and learning and listening. Every time any of us is out, we're just studying what people are wearing, how they're responding, how they're acting. And we talk about that all the time. Anytime we start a new campaign, be it marketing, start a new season, be it product, we kick off with research, and then we close any one of those seasons with a research and hindsight. And so I think that's really important for us to do because we aren't that customer, and
Right.
it can be really easy to use personal bias. Um, I have 2 kids in this group, and I could use their bias, for example. They're 2 out of millions of these people, and, that wouldn't be fair. Or I could use my personal bias about what I want or what the brand was like when I was young, and, we really need to use facts, not feelings. We talk about that a lot of times too. So keeping impulse is really important. Gen Alpha is super interesting. They are not Gen Z. Um,
No.
they are different, and they are starting to teach us different things, and we're getting ready for it. So
You gotta bring in Melissa's she's Shannon, your
she,
daughter, right?
yeah, she keeps me. She does. She informs me quite regularly.
Well, that's that
I'm always getting schooled.
sure.
I To your point, I don't have a big enough focus group, but her and my nieces and her friends, and I mean, I'm always drilling them. They already know that questions are coming on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Hey, Shay, quick question for you. I don't know if you can share this with us, but, of the total product mix, how much is proprietary and how much is third-party brand? Is there a breakout that you could share? I'm just curious as to where that might be.
Yeah, no, happy to share. It does vary over time, I'll tell you that, and it varies by division. Obviously, in apparel, the own brand penetrates the lion's share, the majority, particularly in women's. Um, you know, it can be up 75-80% at times. Men's has a lot of national brands. It's probably not a surprise if you think about the active and athletic brands that you have in men's. Footwear, really, really brand driven. And then in our like home areas, we have the big hydration brands like Awala, Hydro Flask, etc. So it really just depends. But our own brands are absolutely most definitely the powerhouses of our apparel business. But yet we also know that branded business is oftentimes, what drives customers in the door. So a brand like Addicted, for example, in women's apparel has been really, really, really something that resonates with customers. And I think that we know that we see she may come in because she hears we have Addicted, but she's picking up, a pair of BDG jeans, to wear on her bottom with, some Addicted night out top.
Yeah, I love having the mix of third-party brands. It does allow the buyers to stay on top of trends and fill holes that maybe the design team may have missed, if that's even possible. But it really keeps the store exciting and interesting, and I think it's great to have third party to really get into categories that you may have missed, and also to learn businesses that you may not have invested in, but want to get into.
Yeah, it definitely keeps our buyers in the market, keeps their, finger on the pulse. Um, there's so much you can learn from brands, building relationships out in the market. I definitely know that from my time at Nordstrom. And, I think most importantly, being relevant with our customer. Brands do matter. I mean, our 2 biggest brands, Out From Under and BDG, are brands themselves. But our customers tell us every day how much they like brands. They like to come to Urban Outfitters to find new brands. We do some fun collaborations with brands, and they value that too. We can flex our creativity to do exclusive prints in Awala or, exclusive, fun other collaborations. So I think there's lots of ways that we can work with brands, but for sure, I think at the heart of it is, just having great product that customers want. Go figure.
Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about the digital business now that we covered stores to some degree. A lot's happening on the digital side of the business. Where do you see Urban gaining traction? digitally? Is it social that's driving it? Is it an app? What's making conversion happen online for you and where you're finding success?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, our team is committed to being and showing up, in the places and moments that matter most for customers. And that is from a marketing perspective and obviously from a conversion perspective. And it is amazing how fast this customer is moving socially. So, social is a digital channel for us, e-commerce there, but more importantly, we're meeting customers there. And it is definitely not the typical players. Facebook is not really a channel for our customer. TikTok is important. Instagram is somewhat important, but it's actually more the likes of connected TV. Reddit is a hugely important channel for us. You wouldn't believe how important that channel is for us in terms of driving future commerce, driving conversation, driving impression value. Um, Pinterest is a really important channel for inspiration for young women today. So our team is constantly out all over social channels. We've really, really put some resources into our social team, and it's not about posting on our site within these channels. It's about jumping into the conversation, and listening to the conversation. And so, I think I'm really, really proud of how our team has been engaging and following, and I think staying in tune with what's happening socially.
I love that you brought up Pinterest because, like, I remember it had a moment and then I thought it kinda died out, and then when we did our alpha research, they're all on Pinterest.
Yeah,
So,
it's
it's definitely I feel like kinda have a reinvigoration as of late.
It's wild. They love to browse. We always think that Instagram is such a big browsing and definitely not saying it isn't, but Pinterest is a huge browsing um, s- social channel for young women, and we hear that over and over again. So they're everywhere. It's interesting. We talk a lot about direct load traffic. I think a lot of folks are talking about that today, especially with AI and search and the impact of what's to come there. And direct load traffic potentially being down, et cetera. It's like people are on social. That is the source of traffic today, and it's social everywhere. So the more you are in tune with where they are, and put yourself in their path, I think the better you are. So I'm just incredibly proud of our team, and I do think we're blessed because just for example, right now we have 40 interns this summer. They're all college students. They teach us things every single day, and we're blessed. Hopefully, we can hire a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Um,
It's so good to have that, like, feedback loop and that you can learn from that
yeah,
generation. You also at the beginning of the episode, we talked about you both joked, "Amazon, do you know who they are?" So taking that back to your omni-channel strategy, and so how are you taking those learnings and understanding where discovery is happening and making sure that's making its way to the store and kind of that full journey experience for the customer?
yeah. I mean, I think another really fun example of new omni-channel ideas or ways we're meeting customers is we now operate on the DoorDash app. Can you use the word app? We know that young customers are potentially less enticed or users of brand shopping apps. We have a lot of app users. We love our app users, but young customers tell us they are less enticed to download a unique brand shopping app, but they use the crap out of service apps. So we're excited that we operate on the DoorDash app. It's new for us since May. It's been absolutely incredible. Almost all of our stores now service customers through the DoorDash app. It's a really great experience, and we think that's a hugely untapped channel for us as we've been ramping up. And it's a great example of making yourself available where your customer is. And it's just another channel of commerce now for us.
I'm gonna
So
take a wild guess on something. I'm gonna put myself on the line here. I'm gonna say that the DoorDash business, 60% of your weekly DoorDash business is done between 2 and 5 o'clock on a Friday afternoon.
if I told you that Thursday is a big night to go out,
Okay.
yeah. you'd be close. And it's interesting. What we sell would be similarly aligned with, going like things you need to go out. A lot of jewelry, a lot of going out tops, like little cameras that we sell. It's super fun to see what we sell. We're just real excited about what's going on there.
It's
I
funny.
love that. It's so I didn't expect that, and so I always love when I learn something new, but I was recently on Uber Eats to get something when I was on a business trip, and a lot of categories, like your top brands, things I didn't expect to show up in Uber Eats showed up too. So it is interesting. Those are unexpected, partnerships that are
Yep.
continuously growing.
It's crazy. I live across the street pretty much from Brandy Melville, and
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
Friday afternoon lines are, like, enough to make every retailer salivate. I mean, it was like you're like, "Are they giving clothing away? What's going on? Do people just
Yeah.
wait to get into the store?" But it's Friday afternoon. It's like, "I need clean laundry to go out tonight."
Exactly. Exactly.
That's a guy's mentality, I'm sorry, but,
Well,
that's how
because
we roll.
you need a new top because you're gonna take a picture of it. So you're gonna post it or send it or something. I think that's what I'm thinking.
Yes, for
I'm
sure.
I'm not doing it.
A selfie, of course. So speaking of selfies, let's talk a little bit about marketing and collaboration. So much has been happening in that space. I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed with my alma mater, Gap, and what they've been able to do to make the brand relevant again, whether
Yeah.
it's their marketing denim or the collaborations that they are paginating throughout the year. What are you doing in the space to add that buzz? You mentioned a moment ago some collaborations. Maybe you want to share one with us. It's upcoming. You'll say no. I'm going to ask anyway. But what are you doing around collaborations and marketing just to keep it going and keep the buzz around the brand?
Yeah, a couple things. I mean, one, we're a brand that is, about community, and so user-generated content is something that is, you know, something that we're really focused on. And so putting the brand in the hands of our customers is a priority for us. Our spring campaign was all about user-generated content, and that is something that we continue to be focused on. And we've had just tons of success with that. So we'll continue to build out more efforts, whether that is just building out our community and letting them continue to narrate our story, or figuring out how we can bring our community back onto our own channels, and more reviews, more more features about our customers on our website, et cetera, et cetera. We have done a lot of really fun collaborations, and we will continue to as a part of our back to school um, efforts. We do have some fun collabs. One is a beverage collab that we're excited about. We'll just a partnership. We had a really fun Chipotle um, collaboration. That is a huge brand for Gen Z. We did some unique exclusive product drops, and I think they were really excited. It was in timing with launch of their new college loyalty program. Just some incredible social content was made for that. We sold out of some fun, just kind of like irreverent maybe product, like kind of fun, unwitty, like fun product that we did with them. So that was really fun, and unexpected. We did a Dunkin' Donuts collab that was really fun. I think for us, it's about just sharing audience, breaking through the noise, being relevant with customers, and giving them something that's exciting for them. We do a lot of exclusive prints and product with, our current brand partners, but I think we're always interested in some unexpected things as well.
Sounds like you have a lot of good stuff going on, and I wanna kinda dive into your leadership style. I mean, I've gotten to know you personally quite a bit, but, I'm looking for a job, so if something pops up, I'd like to work for you, Shay. I think you could put me to work. I think you could put me to good use. I
You're
don't
too much, Ken.
I'm not a good folder. I never have been. I never put my clothes away as a
What
kid.
were you doing at Gap? What were you doing at Gap if you can't fold?
I avoided the piles. I was the greeter. I would do the cash wrap. I could do the boxes, but I couldn't fold. Not a folder.
Okay.
Anyway, Melissa, you dive in here.
Yeah, I mean, well, I had, the privilege of kind of sharing a leadership moment with Shea in the fall when I first came out with my book. And one of the things that you organized was this really thoughtful opportunity for your senior leaders to come to the Purpose Pivot conversation and bring a mentee. And I think I mean, it was a Monday, packed, every seat, people were even sitting on the floor. So I think that they really appreciated that opportunity. So if you were to step back and think about, how your team would describe you as a leader, what do you think some of the words would be that they would use?
I think authentic would probably come up. Yeah, it's funny. We just had this big old intern coffee chat, and one of them actually said that. They said, we've heard that you're really authentic. And I do think that is something that I did learn that lesson the hard way at some point, that you have to be yourself. You can't be a poser. Um, and then you don't have to apologize. And I do think that it's helped me be more approachable, which is something that's very, very important to me. So I do think authentic. I think direct and transparent at the same time. So, you know, um, I I'm not, I can be very clear. I think that's something that I learned growing up in the stores. When you have hundreds and at times thousands of people, you have to be clear and simple about priorities. And, here at Urban, we have a big creative team, and there's no shortage of things we could do to make this business better on any given day. And with a couple hundred people here at the Navy Yard, everybody could do something to make an impact. But we have to edit and we have to prioritize. And we have 5 priorities as a business, and everybody has to stay focused on those. And we cannot allow ourselves to get distracted, because if we do, we're not going to add up to enough impact. And so, I think simplifying a message, staying focused, and really trying to exercise discipline from being distracted is something that I would say, is something I work on a lot, but I do think is something that people would say about me, as well. And that's something that I learned, as a store manager after a lot of years. It's not an option.
Yeah, I mean, you could be kind and be direct at the same time.
Before you wrap, Melissa, I have one like in between question.
Oh, yes, do that.
I'm really curious on how you are leading change management and AI. I'm sure there's so much talk about it. There's angst about it. People thinking jobs are going away. Maybe some are, but you're the leader. How are you telling teams to embrace AI? What's your message around testing and AI in general as a leader and getting people to embrace it versus fear it?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I'll be authentic. We have a lot of young people in this brand. I'm 51 and I'm one of the oldest people here. So they are already using it. For a lot of them are already using it, right? So these are more tech forward people than, maybe at some of the other brands out there. But that said, not everyone is, and this is not an option. I believe that AI is going to enable people, not replace them. It's going to help us get more done. Maybe in some areas of the business, sure, but we model it as an executive team in this brand. So we now are modeling it all the time and talking about how fun it is to use Claude to help us get our job done better. Now, we're not working less, and we're not going to go away 25% of the time. We still have to work and be here. So we're just celebrating how awesome Claude is. And look at all the stuff Claude told us. And now everybody wants Claude. It's like everybody wants Claude. Our design team has been on AI for a long time, and they get celebrated, for all the great things that they do. So I think it's about making it fun and celebrating it. But I will say we have this advantage that it's somewhat normalized for young people. I mean, my kids have been on Claude for a while, and it's just normalized to them. So I don't think I have to work that hard on the change management, because they see it in their world every day.
Yeah, well, I guess that leads to one of the questions I wanted to ask that you kind of touched upon, but more directly. If you were to think back to your younger self and your store manager days, what advice would you give to somebody that wanted to achieve your career path, like go from that to brand leadership? What would be some one piece of advice you would give them?
I would say remember that nobody cares as much about the job you're doing as you.
Mm.
And, you know, you have to be a self-advocate. You have to get the job done, but nobody else is gonna do it better than you. Nobody's gonna do it for you. Nobody's gonna do it better.
It's good perspective. We're both shaking our head. Me and Ken were like, yes.
All right, now we get to the toughest part of the podcast, rapid fire. Fast
All right.
answer, Shay. You can't pause or give them all. This is one answer, one question, one answer. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite stream show?
1923. Spencer Dutton's So Hot.
Okay. Brand you admire the most?
Skim.
Good one.
Best vacation ever?
Tuscany.
I love Tuscany. Okay. Most important mentor you've ever had?
Blake Nordstrom.
If you could meet anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Jackie Kennedy.
And with that, we'll land this flight of the retail pilot. Shea Jensen, thank you for joining us. Melissa Gonzalez, we have to do this more often.
Yes.
Take care,
Thank
everybody.
you so much.
Thanks,
You killed the
everyone.
rapid fire. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's flight of the retail pilot. And please give us a review on your favorite podcast platform.